So communicate means, are you recording? Yes.
Information between the two devices.
Little bit more.
Yeah. Sorry, I had it and then I lost it. Information being transferred, or can't think of the word I was going to use.
Anybody else would like to give it a shot? What do we mean by the word communicate?
Exchange from each other.
Just multiple areas connecting through a source, I guess, would be.
Then we should say connecting. Why do we say communicate?
No, I mean, well, communicate. Well, I'm communicating to you what I'm thinking, so we're communicating. So something like that, huh?
Something like that.
I mean, sharing information, exchanging information.
Okay.
Transferring information between machine to machine.
Okay, you guys are all getting there, but there is a punchline. Go ahead, Tristan.
Disclosing information from person A to person B through a verbal or physical mean.
Say the first word again, Tristan. What was your first word in the sentence? Or say the same sentence again, or similar sentence.
Disclose.
Disclose. Anybody else would like to give it a try? How many of you are bilingual?
I am.
Okay.
I'm trilingual, actually.
I am.
Okay.
I am.
So those of you who are bi or trilingual, what languages do you speak? Can you write in the chat? Just list all of them together so that you don't have to post so many times. Desmond, is that two different languages, Creole and Spanish?
Yeah, Creole is like, you ever hear Jamaican stuff?
No, I've never heard. I didn't
Never
even-
heard Jamaican? You don't know? You never had a Jamaican student?
I had a Jamaican student, but probably I spoke to that student in English, so I didn't know.
Okay, well, we sound more because Belize is in the tropical islands. I'm a tropical, not an island, but so we instead of saying like what's going on, I would say to you, yo, what they go on? You know, like.
Oh, so it's a blend of English.
Yeah, it's kind of, so we don't say boy, we say boy. Girl, we say gal. You know, car, we say kyar. You know, like stuff like that. So when I'm speaking my native language, it sounds like gibberish, I think.
So
to some people,
it's a touch of English with it's English with a local touch.
Yes, because Belize, the reason why we speak English is because Belize was a colony of England. So like our money still has like the queen head on it and stuff like that. So
what is the original language?
English, just
I mean like
in English.
Before English, what did they used to speak?
Well, my country has a lot of Mayans and I guess some Africans there, so we have like pyramids and stuff in Belize. You can see pyramids and stuff.
I see. So it's one of those ancient languages of that region.
Yeah, probably. So the combination of when England took, invaded Belize and took over, or whatever.
Okay.
That's how we spoke English.
Okay. It's interesting that some of you who are bilingual have some common languages too, of course. A lot of, like besides English, there are quite a few people who know Spanish, right? However, there is nobody other than one person who knows Polish, and there's nobody other than one person who knows French. So,
I know a little Chinese.
oh, welcome, Dar.
Hey,
Hey, okay. So we're just wondering where you were. Okay. So Chinese, interesting. So Chinese is another one that's on the table that very few people know. Okay. So would anybody like to speak, for example, let's say Bart, can you say something in Polish?
Dzień dobry wszyscy.
Okay. Tristan, say something in French.
One moment, I gotta look for my translation book.
Okay. Okay. In the meanwhile, we'll ask Dar. Dar, can you say something in Chinese?
我叫爸爸名字。
Okay. 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 Now, okay, so somebody else is joining us as well. Okay, Damon. Okay. Now, Luis, can you say something in Spanish?
Estoy en mi clase de tecnología.
Okay. Now, whatever Luis said, I did not understand. But those of you who know Spanish, did you understand what he said?
I could barely hear him, so I probably would have
Oh.
understood.
Yeah, I heard him.
Can you say it again, Luis? And a little bit slower, though.
Estoy en mi clase de tecnología.
Yeah, I understood.
I'm in the, oops.
Okay. So those of you who heard understood what he said, right? So I did not understand, even though I was on the receiving end. He was talking, but I did not understand. Earlier on, when Bart spoke, or who else spoke? Who else did I ask to speak? And Tristan spoke. We all heard, but none of us understood except for them. So that is the difference between talking and communicating. What Bart did and what Tristan did was talking. They were talking, but nobody understood. So there was no communication. But when Luis spoke, oh, Tristan did not speak. Who else? Who spoke French? I might have gotten some.
No,
Oh,
I think so.
you did not speak French. Okay, go ahead, Tristan. Say something.
Le Tour Eiffel.
Okay. I mean, I have no idea what he said, but probably he said something nice. I hope.
The Eiffel Tower.
The Eiffel Tower. Okay. So that's the difference between talking and communicating. In talking, people send information, but the receiver has no clue. That's talking. But when the sender and receiver can understand each other, that's called communication. So when Lewis communicated, he only communicated effectively with those who understand the language. But those who did not understand the language had no clue. So there was talking going on, but there was no communication going on. So that is what is the difference between communication and talking, that communication requires all parties involved to be able to understand each other. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So when we say telecommunication, that means we are talking over a network, which is called the telecom network, where the parties involved can understand each other. So how do we do this over a network? There is a word that we use in networking called protocol. Whenever we send something over a network, in order for everybody involved in the conversation to understand, it has to be spoken in a common protocol, which is widely understood by everybody involved in the process. What protocol do we use on the internet for communication? You all have seen it. No, a protocol.
HTTP.
Very good. HTTP, which stands for, anybody knows?
I do.
It's hypertext.
Hypertext transfer protocol.
Yes, hypertext transfer protocol. So again, see the word protocol there. The protocol means a set of rules by which this communication is taking place. And the nature of this communication is that it is a hypertext transfer communication. Does anybody know what is hypertext? Is it text on a lot of caffeine?
Is it like a linking type text?
Which type of text? Andy?
Like linking it to a web?
Yes, so it's basically a clickable text versus a non-clickable text, which is plain text. So it's called a hypertext. Similarly, when we are communicating over a network, you may see a protocol by the name of TCP, IP, ICMP, FTP, and all of these that are ending in P, you know exactly what the P now stands for now. P stands for
Protocol.
protocol, right? Exactly. Okay, it's a set of communication. So whenever you want to communicate, you need a common set of rules, which is called a protocol, through which the communication happens. And that's the basis and the foundation for any network. Okay, now let's go down to page 176. It talks about what is a computer network. So a computer network is a system that connects computers and other devices through communications media. Aha, communications media. What does that mean?
Different type of files?
Communications media, not the content.
The media would be the medium over which it's transferred, be it internet or cables.
It could be wired or wireless. Yep. Okay. So the connected devices sending data through some media, wired or wireless, and the data and information can be transmitted among them. And in order for the transmission to happen, they need to be able to communicate with each other on a common language. That's why for a very long time, I could not put a Mac computer as a client on a Windows network because they would communicate with a protocol called Apple Talk, and Windows network did not understand Apple Talk. So for some time, we created this gateway, which is a special device which converts protocol back and forth between two separate networks. So the Apple Talk will come to the gateway and will then be translated to a protocol that Windows can understand and vice versa. We don't have to do that anymore. What I'm talking about back in 1990s. Okay. So anyway, so voice and data communication networks are continually becoming faster, and that is their bandwidth is increasing and cheaper. What is bandwidth? It is the amount of transmission that can happen over a network. Now, in some of the subdivisions in Kenosha County, Spectrum, for example, is selling a gig shared service. You know, well, in some neighborhoods. And in some neighborhoods, probably it's 200 or 400 megabits or less, you know, depends. So anyway, so what is this megabits per second? That is your transfer rate. Okay, so you have different transfer rate for upload and download. Do you all know how to test your net speed?
There are a few applications you can find online to help test it.
Yeah, exactly. So even if you like go to Google and just type on Google, I want to test speed, it just gives you a run speed one click. Or you can actually go to speedtest.net or fast or several different softwares out there that can help you figure out what is your upload and download speed. And on a shared network, it'll be definitely different. Okay. So when you are connected within a certain area, we call it a LAN, local area network. If that local area network is even on smaller scale, like your desk, so we call it a PAN, which is a personal area network. For example, the devices on your desk connected with each other and communicating with each other, that would be a good example of a PAN. Or your Bluetooth device talking to your computer, or your Bluetooth talking to your car. That's all different implementations of PAN. Then you have LAN, local area network. And then, for example, local area network could actually be expanded to entire home. It becomes a home area network, HAN, or could be campus-wide. In that case, it'll be called CAN, campus area network, or could be city-wide. In that case, it could be called MAN, metropolitan area network, or could go even beyond that, in which case it will be called WAN, or ultimate WAN in some cases, which is the internet. So PAN are short range, typically a few meters, and wide area network is, of course, over a long distance, and metropolitan is within 30 miles radius. But typically, if you're talking about a local area network, it's a bunch of computers connected over a same network, communicating with each other. Okay. And any computer that serves clients is called a server. For example, you could have file server, database server, network server, and things of that nature. Okay. Now, what do you guys think when we go out on a network? How do we get recognized that we are on the network and we should be treated differently from others that are on the network?
IP addresses or MAC addresses, depending on which network you're on.
Aha. So what is the difference between the two?
An IP address is an internet protocol address. It deals directly with a network and it is assigned virtually, manually, or through a DHCP system. A MAC address is always going to be the same on each individual device. It's assigned by the company itself.
Exactly. So the company, every company that sells you a device, they have a unique sequence of MAC addresses which will not be shared with anybody else to avoid conflict of having the two same MAC addresses. An IP address is decided by your organization if they want to go the IP version 4 route or IP version 6 route, and accordingly they can then work your way up. Okay, so if you are sitting on your computer and you click this magnifying glass, this is Windows 11, and if I type here CMD, it brings the command prompt, right? And of course, there are many ways of figuring out your configuration. So if I type here ipconfig and hit enter, okay, it tells me some information about my IP version 4 and IP version 6, and some of the other information about my network. Okay, so that's one way to see shorthand information. If you want to see detailed information, you can then type ipconfig/all. In that case, give you the detail information. So those are the two commands that you can type, ipconfig or ipconfig/all, right under command prompt, which can be accessed by clicking the find and typing the command CMD right in the find, and then your command prompt will pop up. So wide area network is used for larger distances. Enterprise networks are the networks within an organization. So there are different components of an organization linked via one massive network. So when we talk about the cabling, typically people have either a CAT cable or they have a fiber optic cable. Okay, which of the two is better? Or faster, I should say, faster.
Isn't the cat cable faster?
Which one did you say?
I think fiber.
Fiber optic. Yeah, yeah. Okay. ipconfig/all can be with a space. I wrote with a space. Okay, cool. And what is the medium of fiber optic? It uses what particles for transmission?
It uses light particles that bounce off of a glass or plastic tubing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why the EMI effect is reduced on it. The electromagnetic interference is reduced on it. However, you have to be careful about when you are bending it. If you bend it more than a certain angle, you can actually break the cable. Anyway, moving on to the network fundamentals, communications, media, and channels. So this is where we talk about the twisted pair, where the wires inside the jacket are twisted. We have coaxial cable, which you typically see that the dish companies, or I think the cabling companies, would lay out, and the fiber optic cables. And twisted pair look like this, as you can see in your book, figure 6.3. And coaxial cable. And a fiber optic cable. So network protocol, as I told you, is a common set of rules through which communication happens. So a common LAN protocol is Ethernet. It's actually a technology on which you can run a suite of protocols for different communication needs. And this is where one of the protocols that is used, or one of the suite of protocols, I should say the suite of protocol that's used on the internet for communication is TCP/IP suite of protocols. It's a suite of protocols. It's not a single protocol. It's a transmission control protocol, internet protocol, TCP/IP. It's basically comprises of many protocols who work at several different layers of communication. Okay. Here it gives you an example of the layered communication model in the book, that where you are sitting, that's where your application is. So on the sender side, the information is sent from application to transport layer. The transport layer is where this information will then be divided into smaller packets, and they will be an IP address on the packet, acknowledgement information, some security information, encryption, whatever you want to do gets done. Then at the internet layer, the IP addressing is done. And then at the network layer, you will do the framing and the transmission. On the other hand, the reverse process will happen. The network interface layer will gonna assemble the frames in sequence, and the above layers will check the IP address to make sure that this is the correct computer where the delivery was intended for. And then at the layer above, it checks for acknowledgement. If any of the packets are lost in sequencing, it will ask the sender to resend those packets. And then it formulates the whole message, and you can read it on the receiver's end. So that's what basically goes behind the scene. Any questions so far, guys? Okay. Then we look into the types of networks. One of the type of the network is called the client server model, where we have a computer that needs some other computer to serve its needs. So it could be, for example, for authentication purpose, when you're logging into the network, you enter your username and password, it goes to the authentication server, which authenticates your username and password. And then if it's a valid username and password, and comes back and say, well, you're allowed on this network. So a client needs a server for some of the other computational needs, such as for filing purposes, for database purposes, for printing purposes, for web purposes, whatever is your need. Then there's a peer-to-peer network where multiple computers are connected on a local area network, and they all act like they're at the equal level, at the same level, and they are only there to communicate with each other effectively. For example, playing a game in a LAN party. All of these computers connected over a network, They just play games against each other and they're all at the same level. So peer-to-peer network is used for smaller scale networks. Then we have internet. What exactly is the internet or the net? It is one massive network that comprises of several networks put together inside one massive network. So if any leg of this network goes out, does the entire network goes out?
No.
No, no. Only the part that goes out goes out. Everybody else continue to work exactly the same way. Okay. So internet is for the wide area network, and we have a local version of internet which runs within a company which is called the intranet. Intranet is a network that uses internet protocols so that users can take advantage of familiar applications and work habits. So for example, for Gateway, we have an internet website for Gateway, and then we have an intranet website of Gateway, which is where faculty can find their resources. And then there is an extranet website where you need to access the information through a proper login, through a proper installation, authentication. So you will access it through the internet, but once you hit the login page, then you are now tunneling yourself into a more secure environment, which is only accessible by some but not by all. So it's not public domain anymore. So in order for you to access the internet, you need two things: hardware and proper cabling, right? So your hardware and your proper cabling, or wired or wireless, whatever your infrastructure is, will take you on the internet, right? Why do you go on the internet? What are you looking for on the internet?
Everything.
Everything. No, that's too much.
Emails, school stuff, weather.
So you are on the internet surfing what? Surfing what?
The web.
Web. Okay. Okay. That is, so your everything is basically web, okay, or World Wide Web. That's the full form, because this is a web, which is worldwide. Okay. What exactly is a web? What is a web?
It's a
Something that tracks you.
Something Spider-Man.
yeah.
It's a service.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's a service. Somebody is providing you with that service, and that service is only accessible through internet. That's why if
and
your
it's
internet
tracking you.
is, say it again, Desmond.
And it's trapping you because everybody gets so logged on to the internet.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. So if your internet is down, you will never say my web is down. Right? You always say my net is down, or my internet is down, my internet is not working, because you have a hardware problem. Internet is hardware infrastructure. Web is a set of resources, or I should say, instead of service, I should rather use the word web is a collection of resources. It's a collection of resources. You're accessing these resources by using your internet infrastructure. So the resource is available. It's just like you can't get to it. That's why you're saying my net is down. But if the resource goes down, then the resource goes down. You will say the website is down, you know? So that's why you will change your statement that I can go on the internet is just like the service, the resource is not available. So that's why it's very important for you to differentiate and distinguish between internet and web. Sometimes people use them interchangeably, which is okay, but you cannot use them interchangeably every time. So that's why it's important to understand their difference. Is everybody okay understanding the difference between the internet and World Wide Web? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now moving on to some of the means through which you can access internet. We have a dial-up, that's one way to access internet. We have DSL, which is another way. But mostly people in the US are using cable modem. And then probably there may still be some that are still using dial-up, but faster versions of dial-up. They're getting theirs from phone companies, which is basically not really dial-ups. They call it DSL. That's just, it's a different kind of a service. And then in some rural areas, you still have satellite. And then some people who can't afford a satellite or can mount one and don't have access to any of the above three, or they actually have gone to the wireless route as well, where you can get those little pods from the internet service providers, the cellular companies.
Hotspots?
So again,
What, hotspots?
hotspots, right. And then you can put them in your houses, and you can, but they're not that great, but they're better than nothing. Some of the faculty member I know, they live out in the outskirts of Kenosha County, or probably in the outskirts of Racine County, and they don't have access to the fast internet. Their internet is so bad that they actually had to go for hotspots. And it's stable sometimes, and sometimes it's not stable. So sometimes it becomes a challenge. Well, when you're teaching and your neighborhood, there's too much going on. So, yeah, it could happen with anything, but yeah, just is not the greatest, but works, better than nothing. No, satellite isn't that great either, but they've made some improvement in satellite compared to what it was before. So do you have satellite, Angela, or you have had satellite?
Yes, I've had satellite in the past, and my dad lived up north, so he had satellite still. And yeah, we used satellite a while back, but he was still using satellite because there's no way for him to get internet up there.
Wow.
I'm sorry you had to experience that.
Oh no, it's a great experience. I learned a lot.
I had a student who was living somewhere in the county, the countryside, and he had to use satellite to get hooked up to Gateway. The good thing is that back in those days, people were not using internet that much. This is pre-YouTube I'm talking about, right? So people were not watching videos and stuff like that. So it was mostly text-based communication. So he was okay. Because you have a cap, you cannot use more than X amount of bytes, or gigabytes, or whatever, megabytes, whatever that cap is. If you do, then you have to wait for the next month. So once he made a mistake of watching some CNN stuff on the internet, and then in a couple days, he just ran out of his whole quota for the month, and he had to wait till the next month. So it's kind of like, wow, it's only
Yeah,
text.
they do, they cap it, and then you can't like buy more, you have to wait.
You have to wait, exactly. And then that's why a lot of those people, they go to their browser settings and they disable pictures. So they're only receiving text. So that's why, as a good web developer, when you get into web development classes in second semester, you will see that you are taught this little attribute when you put an image on a web page that talks about, this is where you write the description of the picture. Now, students wonder, why do I need to describe the picture? It doesn't even shows up on the page. It's part of the accessibility deal that for all those people who have turn off pictures, they should still be able to see what the picture holds. So you just write a brief description of what the picture is about.
Well, I get internet from the Starbucks down the street.
Okay.
No, I'm joking. I only live remotely close to a Starbucks.
Like,
I was all of these people talking about deprived internet, so I was like, I'm gonna throw my little stone in there and see see if it creates some ripples.
okay, so we have fiber to the home, FTTH, which is expensive and usually placed only in new housing developments. Google has come up with Google Fiber, which is an implementation of FTTH, only available in some parts, 11 cities in the US. So it's limited.
I think Chicago is one of those cities.
Okay,
And actually, I think they might have expanded it.
to more cities now?
Yeah, I think so. I know they got a 2 gig plan though now.
So this is the website, fiber.google.com, where people can enter their address and see if Google Fiber is available close to them. Okay. Okay, now we move on to addresses on the internet. So all the websites out there that are IP version 4 websites, we are limited to having unique only 4.2 billion websites. Okay. For some time, people were like, oh, that's more than enough. 4.2 billion? Huh, who's going to use them, right? But now we decided that we should go up to version 6, which supports, I don't know how many. That's a pretty huge number. That it supports so many. Okay, I'll tell you in chat how many. Okay, so with IP version 6, it supports 340 trillion IP addresses. Okay, it's
That's
not
a
1
lot.
trillion. It's a lot of IP address. Yeah, we each can have a family of IP addresses and it'll still not run out.
I mean, are there more than that 4.2 billion websites?
Oh, internet is so massive. You know, when was the last time you searched Google?
The when it comes to the IPv4, I think we did hit that cap, and the only reason we're able to still use IPv4 is through subnet masking.
Absolutely. And then, you know, you have a single host that provides multiple websites. So you actually branch off to multiple through the subnetting. Absolutely. And then even though with IP version 4, it says 4.2 billion, you cannot use all of them. It's just the max. It's the max number of distinct addresses. You cannot use all of them.
Yeah, and like most of the IPv4 addresses are used up by specifically designated things that ultimately, I think that ate up what, half of the IP addresses?
Yep. And then, you know, those IP addresses were distributed geographically. So there were certain IP addresses that are given to the US and some to the Europe, and each country has a handful of them and just goes like that.
Like if most of us were to look at the IP address on our computer, about 90% of us, if not all of us, would have 198 point is it 192 point, yeah, 192.168.
192.168. Yeah.
It's the most common one that almost everyone has.
Yeah. And that's usually, you know, within. So your what you may call it, your internet service provider's device will hold an IP address which is unique to their network, and all of your IP addresses are connected to that one because your IP addresses are unique to your network in the house, and then their device is connected to, which is their modem is connected to as a device on their network, and your IP address would probably be your ISP would be connected to some other network. So it's just like a whole tree. If you ever go on campus, you probably, if you do some digging, you will see that Gateway is actually connected to Parkside, which is connected to Milwaukee, and just goes like that. So we have top level domains, and there are only a handful of them. So usually when you put a website out there, you don't put a website out there by an IP address. You put the website out there with a name. So gtc.edu is the name of a website, but behind the scene, it has an IP address. And that IP address uniquely defines that website on the internet. Now, when we talk about gtc.edu, there may be another website called gtc.com, perfectly okay, because it's a totally different website. It is GTC for commercial. I'm not saying that there is one, I'm just saying, you know, there are. So you could have gtc.edu because it's for educational purpose. Somebody may have gtc.gov if it's a government website. I'm just giving an example. So GOV is for government, ORG is for not-for-profit, COM is for commercial, NET is for also commercial, and MIL for military, and so on and so forth. Okay, so there are certain websites that, you know, I mean, for example, if you type, you know that there is a make called Nissan, right?
Yes.
Okay, but if you go on your browsers and type nissan.com, where do you land up?
Not with the cars.
No, it doesn't. Go ahead. Type nissan.com.
What is this?
Actually, what happened was when Nissan came to the US, there was another business that was already running under Nissan name. It was called nissan.com. And that's what their website was. And Nissan was not even in the US at that time. So when Nissan came to the US and they wanted to launch a website, the IP, the host name was already taken. So the Nissan Motor filed a lawsuit against these guys. And initially they won the lawsuit saying, well, we are already doing business. It's not like you came, because in the world of internet, it is a lawsuit that if you take over a famous name, and when that famous name wants to go online, you said, okay, you want your name, give me X amount of dollars. That's illegal. You can't do that. So these guys were like, we have been in business before you even came to the US. So now all of a sudden, since you're so big, you want this name, we can't just hand it over to you because we own it. It's our business. That's what our business is called. So then Nissan Motors went against these guys, and then there was a big lawsuit that's been going on for a very long time. And this website was operational. Maybe the Nissan guys were so small that the Nissan drained them out, right? A lot of these companies would do that. They'll just drain you out of your. So now what Nissan did, Nissan launched their website by the name of nissanusa.com. So at one point in time, so the nissanusa.com is the website under which the Nissan does its US business. At one point in time, you had to type google.com to get to Google. But Google noticed that people have been mistyping Google so many different ways that they actually went ahead and purchased some of those mistyped names as well. So, you know.
Really?
So now people, because initially Google was not easily typed. It was just like, it's not a normal word like Yahoo, MSN. So people would make a mistake. So that's why Google, for example, if you type Google with one O, G-O-G-L-E, just try gogle.com and you'll still go to google.com. And it will, you will be redirected to G-O-O-G-L-E. I mean,
I
like,
had no idea it would do that.
yeah. So some of these corporations have gone ahead and did something like that as well, so that the people still land on their page versus going to be somebody else's. Because there was another thread at some point in time that, okay, the Google is so famous that it is Google, so maybe I should go and register a domain Google under my name, and people will come to my site just by simply mistyping the name. Similarly, Walmart.com, right? So somebody could go and register a name Walmart with 2L. Nobody will do that because now the internet laws are very different. You cannot do these kind of things because that's like grabbing somebody's business. And these big, massive companies would not let you get away with those kind of tricks. But at one point in time, that was totally doable. People would do it. People have done it to celebrities. They will see a rising star. They will go and grab a name of a website with that rising star, and then the celebrity now wants to go live, and the name is already taken. And now you got to bargain with those people. So again, now it's not legal to do that. So the future of the internet, the researchers assert that if internet bandwidth is not improved rapidly within next few years, the internet will be able to function only at a much reduced speed. The internet is sometimes too slow for data-intensive apps, such as full motion video files. Remember, we are going 4K, right? So 4K on this kind of an internet, not really. That's why for a very long time, YouTube has been trying to give you what options? If you go to any YouTube video, it gives you several options for you playing the video in lower resolutions. Right?
Yeah, it goes all the way down to 144.
Yeah, it's I don't know, it does it. So for older videos, for example, if you click on this settings, no, is it? Yeah, it's
You
and
gotta go past the ad.
yeah, I have to go past the ad. Okay. Okay. So here we go under setting. No.
Other ad.
Oh, it's another ad. Okay. Now, here we go. Okay. So we have all the way to 144. You're right. From 1080p to 144.
And now I think it goes all the way up to 8K or 16, one of them.
I think YouTube allows 4K, especially for gaming videos. Yeah, you can do 4K. Yep. And cameras, what was that camera that who was launching that camera? Motorola, 200 megapixel. 200 megapixel. Unbelievable, right? It's crazy. Why do you need 200 megapixels? What do you need it for?
I want to see the pores on your face.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, would you not want to see somebody's face exactly how it's supposed to? How you're supposed to see it?
No.
This is the reason. Well, no.
Okay.
Then you're talking to a fake.
Okay.
And not a complete like I don't know. My camera is I believe I hope my camera is 4K. So
Well,
if I see you on the street, I hope you look exactly like what I'm seeing you right now with.
Yeah, I don't know if we really need to go 200 megapixel for that.
See, you're still living back in the dinosaur days, man. Right now, clarity is everything. If you can't see it, it's not real.
Yeah, 200 megapixels, I think is still overkill.
If I can see the imperfections in makeup, it's too much.
Really? I would think that would be even better. I mean, especially if you were dating, you want to make sure this girl's
Oh my God.
real. I'm just saying.
When I'm taking pictures and editing photos and stuff, having a super high quality photo really helps when you're,
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
changing around.
but for like
But those kind of people don't
That's
take
like
pictures with
professionals.
phones.
This
they
is,
use
this
like
is
Right,
true.
and-
They usually don't. This is
Yeah.
true.
From a standpoint, like with my job, we have to take photos of employees to apply their photo to a photo ID that they use to access various locations. When we get a photo from the latest iPhone that someone took of themselves, we have to compress that photo 18, 19 times just to get it to fit on the website, because they have super advanced photos and they don't take any pictures that are less than 8K.
Correct. Yep. That's
I feel
problem.
horrible when you gotta do Samsung stuff.
No, he works for the FBI, man. There's different ID and let you access different areas. FBI,
So,
all them.
so Desmond, you were talking about dates?
No.
No? Okay. Okay.
Oh man.
Anyway, so Internet 2 is a suggestion that probably, but again, the world is not ready for Internet 2. There are a lot of things that we in North America experience, and the world experience is very different. There are still companies like phone companies out there in developing countries who are running ads on televisions. Oh, we will give you 4G network. It's better than your previous 3G network. And people are like, wow, I'll have 4G. And we are like here selling 5G. So it's like a totally different ball game. So yeah, we'll see how things go.
It's good when you have 4 or 5G up until you run out and you're back at 2G again.
Oh, they did cancel the 2G in Bluetooth. Okay.
Yeah, my car's not that old, but I can't access any of the cool features that I love my car so much for. It's gone.
Like this, they did something similar to me on the Samsung, like Samsung. I have an old Samsung television. It still works. It's like 12 years old. But they stopped the app support 5 years ago. So I can't run any apps on it. Like all the apps are outdated. So when I open YouTube on it, it says, this is too old version of YouTube. YouTube doesn't support this version anymore. And they wouldn't even update it. So that's their way of forcing you to buy a new TV.
Or a new car.
Or yeah, so it's crazy how they force you to do things.
It's all a part of the corrupt system, Professor.
Yeah.
Gotta update your car in the middle of driving the highway.
So we're talking about World Wide Web, which is in short called web or WWW. And the technology of hypertext is the capability of you hovering over a piece of text and clicking on it. This came into existence with the World Wide Web, hypertext technology being implemented through HTML, hypertext markup language. Think about it, prior to HTML, if you have to open a resource, you have to literally go to File, Open, Browse. That was the only way to locate a resource. When this came about, now every resource is just a click away. It was a big breakthrough. And that's why people have done massive investments on this one breakthrough, that the entire Google industry is standing on this breakthrough. All these Google Docs and Google Slides and all of that stuff. It's crazy. It's crazy how they're just using this one tool and all the improvements that are going around this tool. So we have Uniform Resource Locator, which is the URL or a unique address for the website. But behind the scene, of course, it has an IP address. But you and I don't remember sites by the IP address. We remember them by the names. There is a website. I'm going to post, hold on a second, the link in the chat. It is called nslookup.io.
What's IO? kind of forgot.
I don't know. IO.
It's like a different,
It is like a different, IO
it's
domain.
a newer,
It's a newer one. It's a newer one.
Does it stand for input output? Or is
Input
there
output
something-
in computer science abbreviation. Originally, the domain IO stood for Indian Ocean.
Hmm.
However, nobody associates the top level domain with the British overseas territory, the last remnant of which is the Chagos Archipelago. I don't know, it's a group of islands. Probably hardly anyone who asked themselves the question. Okay, so instead what it stands for? Well, some people say it's input output. It's one of those things that nobody knows. It's just like, okay, whatever.
So it's just there.
Is there, exactly. So if you type name of a website, for example, when I type gtc.edu, it just said, you know, this is the information about gtc.edu that just pulled right there. Okay, this is the IP address. And this is the host. And it's an IP version 4 IP address. So when I type Google, this is the Google's version 4 IP address, and this is version 6 IP address. It is hosted by Google itself, and it's hosted in America. Let's do msn.co.uk. Okay. So amazon.co.uk, even though it's a UK site, it's site meant for United Kingdom from MSN, but it's owned by Microsoft, and it actually runs from America on this IP address, 13.82.28.61. If I wonder if .com is actually on the same host as well. So it is on the same host they're running all the offshoots. So this is just a website to get some more information behind the scene for the IP address of your host. Okay, so we have search engines. Search engines pretty much allow us to go out there and search information. And this service, by the way, is not free. Right? You guys know that, correct? Google.com is not free. How do they make their money?
Ads.
What else do they do?
cell phones.
Select user data.
Yes, they sell your searches. Absolutely. Right. So that's how they know that people living in Kenosha are searching for fridge far more than they're searching for freezer. So this information is good for companies selling both. So now they need to target the Kenosha market with more fridge ads than freezer ads. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So every time you do a little search on the internet, and then you go and search other places on the internet, and you probably will see that you start seeing ads about your previous searches. So if you were
I can just
searching,
speak and I
so
have ads come up.
say it again.
I can just speak with my device around and I'll see ads come up.
Yep, because that is being sold to those marketing web crawlers. It's all automated. So all your searches are sold, and that's how they can market you more products. So for that reason, we have some web browsers like Brave web browser. Okay, so I think I installed it myself. Brave. Oops. Brave. Okay, so Brave is one of the web browsers. Oops, let me close that. Ah. Come on. And it basically says that I block all the trackers and ads, because that's how those other search engines are making their money.
Yeah, with Safari, it automatically does that, I think. Yeah, it does.
But there are very few people in the jungle. I mean, the users of Safari. So that's why only the Mac users can use Safari, right? And a lot of the Windows users, they get their iPhone and iPads, and what do they do by going to the App Store?
Download Chrome or Google.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, how does Brave makes money? Maybe it's one of those initiatives which are non-for-profit, not-for-profit initiatives done by the people out of their own good, like Linux operating system. Because it's not that difficult to build your own browser. So it is connected to crypto, though. You're right. So probably it's, well, you're right. It probably may be using cryptocurrency, but crypto is doing horrible now.
They are, but they have a currency, a coin back that you can, through their browser, you can actually allow them to sell
Ah, okay. Okay.
information.
I see. Okay. I
Or
see.
you run ads in the background, and they pick it up, something like that. It's weird, but yeah, and they use that towards the cryptocurrency stuff, and they were doing well for a while.
So they probably might be utilizing your resource. Yeah. So there are
Yeah.
there are no free lunches. So another cool software that I have found on the internet that again comes from Google as one of the corporations, which is translate.google.com. So for example, I type something in English and then I can pick a language, let's say French.
Polish.
French. Come on. Okay. And then I can actually hear it speak in the language as well. Come on.
Salut, je suis là.
I don't know how correct the translation is, but it has a way of doing it. Okay. Let's try maybe Spanish. I think I should change my mouse. It's acting up. It's not clicking on one click. Come on.
Hola, estoy aquí.
I don't know. Is it correct?
Yeah. And as well, you see the little person icon next to translation. It's confirmed by other users, if you didn't know.
Oh, okay. Reviewed by the contributors. Okay. Okay. Now, this is
¿Cómo estás?
is this okay for both genders in Spanish? Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Come on.
كيف حالك؟
Now, this is not correct in Arabic for both genders because this is only for male. The haluka is for male. And then for female, it should be kaifa haluki. If somebody is relying solely on this, could make a grammatical mistake.
You should comment in there and fix it, man.
Previously, they had it for women only. Now they fixed it, but they put for male only.
I think if you click on the translation, it should drop you with other
It,
possible fixes.
yeah,
or
I
fixes.
did. This is كيف حالكم. It's like, how are you for more than one person? كيفك is another dependent. If you say كيفك, كيفك, كيفك is okay. كيفك is more like used for genderless. كيف أنت, now it depends. What did they say here? كيف أنتِ, now this is for the female. كيف أنتِ. If they say كيف أنت, it will be for the male. So كيف حالك, and then شلونكم. This is slang. This Arabic is mostly spoken in North Africa. This is, like usually Arabs in Gulf countries will not say that for how are you. So they do have some dialects in the list. Anyway.
I'm wondering, why are there in just so many languages, there's just like 2 different letters?
What do you mean?
Like how, like haluki and haluga, or in Spanish, there's either an O or an A.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that?
That's how the languages are, that they have gender-based verbs. Like, for example, in English, we have singular and plural, right? But in some languages, they have singular. They have a different section for if you're talking about 2 people. And then more than 2 is plural.
I think almost all languages aside from English have masculine and feminine methods of speaking like that. Even German, I don't know a lot of German, but I know a little bit. Mein Freund is my male friend. Mein Freundin is my female friend.
Okay. So yeah, so languages do have those extra letters. Now, the only difference is that in languages like, for example, Arabic, when we say, how are you? It's written the same way for male and female. Okay. You will write it the same way, but you will use a little slanted line above the last letter for male and below the last letter for female. But typically Arabs don't write it. You know what I'm saying? So when they put those symbols on top, they typically don't write it, but that's how they will say it. So in some Arabic script, they will write the symbols for non-native Arabic speaking people to differentiate that this pronoun or this verb or this whatever is for which gender. Otherwise, Arabs usually would be able to figure it out from the sentence or from the context. Anyway, and I don't know much Arabic, so don't ask me many questions. Okay, so moving on to the publication of material in foreign languages, and that's where some of the services are out there. And of course, they are heavily Unicode based, and that's how we can represent so many different symbols. Okay, moving on to the portals. Aha. For example, a lot of the time when I ask people, who is the competitor of Google? Usually, what do you think people answer right away?
Yahoo or Bing?
Yahoo or Bing. Okay. Yahoo is not a competitor of Google, by the way, but Bing is. Why not? Yahoo was never a competitor of Google.
They probably have some connection together.
Have you ever been to yahoo.com recently?
Oh,
Right?
Not for a long time.
Not for a long time. Okay. But look at how it looks like. Okay. Do you see this page, this whole page? Okay. And look at the Google's page. Do you think they are in competition?
Not really.
They're not.
No.
They're not. Yahoo is a portal. Yahoo is a portal, which also has search capabilities. So it is the search.yahoo.com. Only that component of Yahoo is the competitor of Google. You see that? For a very long time, Microsoft also had the same model. But then Microsoft launched Bing, which uses exact same code as Yahoo, because they both join hands to go against Google. It's the exact same algorithm for Bing and Yahoo. No difference. Okay. Who is the actual true competitor of yahoo.com portal?
MSN.
MSN, exactly, because MSN is also a portal. So a portal is a website which gives you access to several different services and not just one. So that's what the portal does. And Yahoo actually launched itself as a portal, like a one-stop shop for all your needs. That's why they had cars.yahoo.com, finance.yahoo.com, weather.yahoo.com, horoscope.yahoo.com, search.yahoo.com, mail.yahoo.com. All of these were services under the Yahoo portal. Okay. So we have several different network applications that we use on day-to-day basis, such as we have electronic mail, we have web-based call centers, we have electronic chat rooms, we have voice communication tools, we have unified communication, which simplifies and integrates all forms of communication, where from the same platform, you can send in voice, you can do voicemails, you can do chats, emails, instant messages, short messages. I mean, like, you can just do it all from one service, okay? Telecommuting became a norm for some people, and they still do. And for those kind of people, these services play a very vital role, where they should be able to access things from anywhere. Okay. So network application collaboration. The third major category of network application is collaboration, which refers to efforts by two or more entities, that is individuals, teams, groups, or organizations who work together to accomplish certain tasks. And one of the examples would be a work group, which refers specifically to two or more individuals who act to perform a task. For example, Google Doc. Can two people be working at the same time in the same Google Doc?
Yes.
Absolutely, yes, yes. That's the whole point. That once you share that, multiple contributors, and it literally tells you when you're making changes as to, if you hover over a box, it tells you who is in the box, if it's an Excel worksheet, for example. So things of that nature that allows collaborative work, okay? Crowdsourcing, okay? There are some benefits, there are some advantages, some disadvantages of crowdsourcing, in which an organization outsources a task to an undefined, generally large group of people in the form of an open call. And then you ask crowd for the input. Okay, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? How should design be changed? And you just ask for a massive, massive group of people to contribute to a cause. Although crowdsourcing has numerous success stories, there are many questions and concerns about this approach. Should the crowd be limited to experts? How accurate is the content created by the non-experts in the crowd? How is crowd created? How is crowd created content being updated? And the crowd may submit too many ideas. Content contributors may violate some laws. and the quality of content depends on the composition of the crowd. So there are some quality related, law related, and expert opinion related questions about crowdsourcing. Then comes the teleconferencing and video conferencing. Of course, this class wouldn't be possible without this technology, right? And in the COVID, Zoom took off on the levels that nobody else did. Google has tried so many different things to win over its clients. The clients remain with the Google Gmail provider, but have moved on to Zoom for their video conferencing needs, even though Google also offers so many different solutions, right? Google has what you may call it, Spaces, which is what they started recently in COVID, chats, they have meets, you know, all different ways, but people still decide to stay with Zoom. Network applications for educational purposes. Of course, you guys are using a learning management system like Blackboard, and that's one example. I remember when I first started at Gateway and people didn't have access to the internet as much as they do now. The distance learning department was totally different than what it looks like now. In the distance learning department, we had a secretary or an office assistant. She used to put the material in the brown envelopes, big brown envelopes, and would seal them and would put stamps on it and would snail mail that to the students who couldn't come in. And we had a special IPTV room. You know, there are some television stations where you would just switch to watch educational stuff. So there are lectures going on. So the schools and universities were running those from an IPTV. So the students would actually go and watch that entire lecture in the form of a TV show, and that would act as their class. And then we would snail mail them their final exam or midterms. They will fill it out and have to send it back to us within a week for us to grade it and submit it in a timely fashion. And then they would have to mail back the material like those. And in some cases, we would send them the VHS by mail. Totally different world, you know, unimaginable for a lot of you. Think about learning that way in these times. How many of you will still love to learn that way, right? VHS, how many, some of you probably have never even seen a VHS.
My kids know what VHS is because it just when you're young and you don't have a whole lot of money, you take your parents' old electronics.
Yeah, I mean, wait till the time when they look at the floppy disk and said, Mom, when did you 3D printed this?
Oh my gosh, we just ran across some of those.
Oh, it looks like the save icon.
Oh,
man. The first time my 13-year-old got into a car that had a wind-up window. He asked me, how do I put the window down? He didn't know that was the...
Oh, yeah.
Can you pull down the windows? Dad, I can't find the start button.
Exactly.
Oh. Anyway, so what we will do in the remaining time is I will put you guys in small breakout rooms where you will discuss the closing case. Okay, so let's set aside 5-6 minutes till 7:05 for everybody to read the closing case, which is on page 206. In the meanwhile, I will set up your breakout rooms. So you can read the closing case on page 206.
I got a question real quick. Wasn't this net neutrality thing
Mhm.
like really big with that Verizon guy?
Mm. But it didn't fly because of the other stakeholders. Okay, is everybody done reading?
Just about.
Okay, okay. Just give me a green check when you guys are done reading this.
Are we reading the timeline too?
You're reading all the way through early results.
Oh.
Yeah.
Purdue University Global. Apply now at purdueglobal.edu.
Again, please give me a green check when you guys are done reading. So what I will do next is I'm putting something in the chat for you to read first. And then I'll be opening your breakout rooms for 11 minutes for you to discuss these questions. I just want to make sure that every room has enough people. Oh my God, so I think somebody dropped out of here. Okay, we have to recreate all the rooms. Okay. Okay, so I'm opening your rooms now.